Well, to discuss this more, we have with us Siyavush Ranjbar-Demi, Senior Lecturer in Modern Middle Eastern History, joining us live from St Andrews in Scotland. Welcome to the programme. So is this likely to be the last chance to find a peaceful solution?
Well, it's clearly one of the last opportunities there are to at least see some form of a framework emerging that could lead to a nuclear deal, I would say, because of the military buildup, American military buildup you mentioned in the Persian Gulf and in the surrounding areas, which obviously cannot go on in an indefinite manner. It has to be said that according to the Iranian side, the negotiations certainly are lasting longer than the previous round a week and a half ago or so in Geneva. Apparently they went on for 3 hours in the morning, and there's a break now and they'll carry on in the evening. So the two sides are probably discussing something more than what they did in the previous round.
And with those negotiations, I mean, both sides have red lines, as it were, but neither seems willing to budge.
Yes, there seems still to be a considerable amount of distrust. I mean, the segment you played, Trump is effectively saying that the Americans are negotiating what they consider to be a sponsor of terrorism. Clearly, the two sides have a considerable amount of enmity. The Iranians are also very distrustful with regards to what the American intentions are. They are concerned about what the Israeli attitude is. We've heard that the Israelis are not very comfortable about Iran and America moving close to a deal, if there is a deal at all. So there are a lot of moving parts, I would say, and we still do not see that sort of constructive spirit which was there at the beginning when the Obama-era negotiations occurred over a decade ago between the Obama and the Rouhani administrations.
And with that distrust that you mentioned then, what could the consequences be for any prolonged conflict for the region and beyond?
Well, clearly the Middle Eastern states, maybe with the exception of Israel, are clearly against any form of American military intervention. The possibility of a military strike a few weeks ago by America is what really caused this diplomatic scramble involving Qatar, Oman, Turkey, and Egypt in particular. So clearly they want to avoid this because they are very conscious of the consequences it could have on the entire region if there's a prolonged military conflict or if the Iranian state is weakened. We have to bear in mind that Iran has a very complex internal situation at the moment. Protests have started up again on university campuses across Iran. There's still a considerable amount of anger towards the establishment because of the repression, the very bloody repression of the January protests. So it is a very complex situation. And out of all this, at least there's a regional intention to avoid a conflict. However, really, we have to wait and see for the details as to whether the proposal that Iran appears to have submitted to the Americans today goes most of the way in satisfying the Trump demands, which are quite vague. Trump keeps saying that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We are not very clear as to whether Iran will be entitled to continue uranium enrichment, even at very low levels. What will happen to the uranium enrichment stockpile? There are a lot of details that are still not very clear.
We'll leave it there. Siyavush Ranjbar-Demi, we appreciate your insights. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you.
The Narayan Hiti Palace was lit for dinner. The royal family gathered. Laughter echoed through marble halls. But soon, it all changed. Gunshots rang out, one after another. A night that would shatter a kingdom. In hours, the royals were assassinated. Not in a war or a coup, but in a massacre inside the palace walls. Catch the full story on The Assassination, Saturday at these times.